Why is the Islamic Republic of Iran facing its biggest ever crisis?
Now let's shift our attention to Iran, where protests have been on for more than 10 days now and the situation is getting out of hand.
Why are women leading this particular movement? And what is the hidden stake of Israel in all of this? What happens when rising prices turn into rising defiance and fear stops working as a tool of governance? Iran in 2026 is giving us all these answers. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand that what exactly is happening in Iran. Why are there protests? What is the historical background to it? What was the Shah rule? What came in the Islamic Revolution and who was guiding it? And most importantly, the external angle, that why is Israel invested in this protest and why US has gone ahead and warning Iran about the massive protests that are unfolding. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly is going on in Iran. As of now, if I have to describe it, what we are seeing in Iran is not just protests, it is a deep structural crisis that has unfolded, and this crisis is about the legitimacy that lies at the apex of Iran. And such a crisis has not been seen in Iran since 1979, where we saw the Islamic Revolution led by Khamenei and Islamic State was established. As of now, this protest is not sporadic, it is sustained. That means it has been there for weeks. We are seeing that it is present nationwide and it has brought in all the classes, be it workers, women, bazaris which are an important component of the economy of Iran in this particular context, and minorities as well. All in all, the state that Iran is present in of now is something that we see as an end result when there has been no space for dissent, when fear has been the governance tool, and that is why to make government or the elite or the higher end hear what people want, the basic economic demands, that has been coupled with ideological rejection, and there have been, it is so intense that there have been direct chants against the supreme leader of bringing him down and whatnot. So this whole situation clears that it is not about some sectional protest. We are seeing the breakdown of the fear barrier and collapse of the ideological consent that was present in Iran. And there is no way where we can just label it as a protest or an unrest. This is a systemic state stress under which there is a probability of breakdown as well. Now, when we have to understand this, why it is happening, straight away let us move to understand that what are the reasons which triggered this situation. So, if we talk about the immediate triggers in front of us, they were mostly economic in nature. How economic in nature? There was a sudden spike in the prices of very basic essential goods such as oil, such as eateries as a chicken and the staple food. And it was coupled and fueled with a triggering policy decision. That means there was not just this problem that was underlying, it was further brought to front where there was a subsidized dollar access which was present for importers, and this was removed. So this marked the triggering event. As a result, multiple things happened as a consequence. What? There was a currency shock that was seen because of the increased food prices and the staples. There was hoarding which led to shortage, and there was also closure of shops. Now this led to a panic situation which was driven by economic distress. Now this panic situation gradually converted into street mobilization of all the classes, and this situation unfolding so quickly clearly shows how fragile is Iran's macroeconomic management and how easily it can break down. And there is also absence of any effective shock absorbing mechanism that Iran could have placed from the governance end. So things were going bad and there was no stopping to it that the government could do or maybe they wanted to do, and that fueled the anger further. But when we are talking about this economic distress, we also need to couple it with understanding that it was not just an immediate thing, there were structural reasons associated with it. So when we are talking about structural reasons, one of the biggest structural reasons here was the long-term US sanctions that were put on Iran. That not only diminished the revenues that were coming from oil, but it also led to a fiscal compression that Iran was seeing. Because of that, inflation came in and the real wages of people was eroded. And add to that, unemployment was immense, especially at the youth level, and educated underemployment was increasing. Adding to that, corruption and rent seeking across institutions was also coming in. Now, these are the things which started it, and further we also got to see some movement on the end of excessive money which was being printed to fund into the fiscal compression that was being seen. It also led to not just economic distress, environmental distress was also present. When we are talking about an example, Iran's deepening water crisis, where the underground water has almost been exhausted, and the extreme drought-like crisis that Iran has been seeing in past 3 to 4 months, also clearly shows that environmental stress was also impacting people, and the urban precarity was also present. Other than that, the political voice also comes in from the reformist presidency, which is under Masoud Pezeshkian. Now, he has highlighted that there is lack of control over economy, and also there is no authority over security apparatus. So when we are talking about security apparatus, you have to understand that Iran stands at the middle point when we are talking about axis of resistance. All these forces, they are supported from this particular place, IRGC, and Iran Revolutionary Group Corps, they are the fulcrum point here, be it Hamas, be it others. So axis of resistance, Iran does not have control over it, Iran facilitates it. And the lack of control of the economy has also been highlighted. As a result, we get to see that reforms that were promised during the Islamic Revolution 1979, they have not been met, they have not been delivered, and this has led to the mass cynicism. Now, when we are talking about Islamic Revolution 1979, let us briefly move into understanding that what changed in 1979. So this is where we get to see two things. We have to This is where we get to see two things. We will be starting with pre-1979, that is the time of Shah rule, and then Islamic Revolution happened and Khomeini came into the picture. Now let us understand this in a little detail. So before 1979, Iran was ruled by Mohammad Raza Shah Pahlavi, and you will find that, and this was marked by an authoritarian modernization, but there was no democracy. The main features here were secular authoritarianism, very close US alliance, rapid industrialization and also urbanization, and most importantly, the distinct feature which separates that, rights, not just to people but to women in terms of education and workforce participation as well. But with this also came in structural weaknesses, because there was absolute political exclusion, secret service led repression was present, and the growth which was present, that was elite led. So that means there was also inequality. And all of this led to the Islamic Revolution in 1979. That happened because there was modernization, but without any legitimacy because of all these reasons. Rural classes, middle classes, bazaris, all of them were alienated, and that set a stage for religious mobilization. Now came in the Islamic Revolution, which was a popular revolution, and this was brought in by Ruhollah Khomeini. Now, he was the one who changed the popular revolution, Islamic revolution, into a theocracy. Then after 1989, we get to see that all of these changes were consolidated by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So, there was already establishment of Islamic State, and this was further consolidated by Khamenei, which is present as the supreme leader in Iran above any other institution, be it legislature, be it executive, judiciary and whatnot. So, when we see the system present today, it started with ideological mobilization, it started with a lot of promise, but gradually there was absolute institutional control and also security dominance. The rights were taken away and the economic distress also added because of Khamenei's policy. Now, on this very note, we will be looking what changed and what was left in front of us, especially when we are talking about understanding the immediate situation at our hand. So, in this context, we got to see that there was change in ideology, but the power and the repression that continued. The form of repression changed. Initially, it was secular repression, later it became religious. It was initially justified by modernization, later control was justified by morality, faith and religion, and that is what fueled the protest more. In addition to that, we also saw some structural similarities. For example, centralized authority, pluralism was weak, people were alienated and dissent was not allowed. All in all, we get to see that Iran was cycling between forms of authoritarianism, nothing was changing, and that is why we have seen repeated uprisings in Iran, be it 1999, 2009, 2017 and 2022 and now in 2026. Now that we have a fair idea of the historical background here, that what is culminating in 2026, let us move to another important feature of this particular protest, that women are leading this protest, which also shows that how this cycle of repression that set in, especially after 1979, is about to break, and that is being challenged. Because this movement as of now is being headlined by the slogan, Women, Life and Freedom. So, we have all the classes, all the ethnicity, and they are mobilized, and in this particular movement, women are not being showed as victims, rather they are the leaders, and they are being shown as the primary objects of ideological control, because they have been the ones who have been suffering from mandatory hijab, moral policing, legal inequality in marriage, inheritance and testimony, which has been related to the faith and morality. It might exist for some, it might not exist for some, but here the control was justified. This was justified in the name of faith and morality, and that is why women wanted to come out of this, and you can see and understand that why they are driving this particular movement. And furthermore, if you want to add more dimensions to it, when we are talking about economic crisis, we get to see women suffer the most, reason being they have the household provisioning responsibility. Furthermore, women are majorly involved in informal job, and the losses have been huge since the economic crisis. And when we talk about another addition, the 2022 protests that we had seen because of the death of Mahsa Amini, that is also adding to this. So, women, life, freedom, this is a pre-famed protest for them to get their dignity, to get their autonomy, to get their livelihood, and this leadership by women shows that the regime's moral legitimacy is not working, it needs to go away, and people coming from all classes, be it men, workers and minorities, shows that how much truth it holds. Now, when we have taken a round of what exactly is unfolding in Iran and some dimensions around it, now let us move to an external point here, that is Israel. Now let us move to understand that how it is going to create a ripple effect. How does this matter regionally as well as globally? For Iran, yes, it shows that the revolutionary legitimacy of 1979 is gone, and there are lot of things that need to change, but especially for Middle East, because Iran is an important factor in Middle East. It is not just a domestic actor, it is an international actor presence, and it is going to create an impact in Middle East, because as I said, Iran lies at the middle of axis of resistance. If Iran destabilizes, it is going to affect Hezbollah, it is going to affect Syria, Iraq, Yemen. That means weak Iran means weaker axis of resistance, and this gives a strategic opening for rivals, including Israel. That is why, even though Israel is not openly staging this, Israel has a lot to look for what comes in the end. But most importantly, for the global order comes the oil price volatility. However, it is limited at this given point of time, because Iran has been under US sanctions and there has been limited export that was coming from there. But the biggest fear comes in from the nuclear negotiations, because after the Iran-Israel war unfolded last year, there has been a huge uncertainty, and these protests further increase it, and there is an escalation risk which involves both US and Israel. Now, in this very context, let us understand in detail that why Israel is involved. As I said, this is nothing but a strategic weakening of an adversary. If Iran destabilizes, then Israel's long-term threat destabilizes. It will weaken Hezbollah, it will weaken all the regional proxies, and it will divert Iran's focus from any sort of nuclear acceleration, which is a strategic win for Israel without being involved. And this is how Israel is going for strategic patience, not for any regime engineering or change, and letting the internal problems erode Iran rather than doing anything. So these protests are a strategic attrition that are present, and they are not a humanitarian cause. And in this context, a distracted and instabilized Iran would be a great situation for Israel. And that is why US is further helping in this, because they are using coercive diplomacy. They are warning Iran that they have to deter away from mass killings. They have to prevent any legitimacy destroying bloodshed. And this is simply favoring Israel over Iran, and US trying to again pitch in for democracy, pitch in for peace, and use it as a strategic signaling that US is there, everything is going to be fine, reassure Israel and Gulf allies that we are going to manage everything, and if there is any escalation that is to take place, US is going to dominate that. That is why US is threatening Iran in all of this situation. Now, when we are talking about Iran protests in such detail, we have to understand that these Iran protests mark a question on the Islamic rule, but many who are saying that there will be immediate collapse, that is unlikely. But what we get to see, that this is going to create irreversible legitimacy erosion. The 2026 protests are unique because they are multi-class. Bazaris, important component of economy of Iran, they are involved, women are involved, and there is also economic collapse. And this time the challenge is not to any particular institution, the challenge is to the direct supreme leader. And this remains a historical lesson when we are talking about governance across the globe, that there are limits to fear as a tool of governance. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.